This episode of World Wellness Education is made possible by a production grant from the Milhorn Law Firm.
We at the Milhorn Law Firm believe that important decisions in planning should not be put on hold. These planning decisions affect not only you, but your children and heirs. My name is Eric Milhorn. I'm one of 7 attorneys here at the Milhorn Law Firm. We've been very fortunate. We've been able to serve the Central Florida area for a period of over 20 years. All the attorneys at the Milhorn Law Firm live in this area and are proud to call this area our home.
The Milhorn Law Firm, the law firm you know and trust.
Hi, I'm Tracy Brosman, co-founder of World Wellness Education, a community forum to educate, encourage, and inspire a better way of life. We commonly face day-to-day challenges of stress, lack of exercise, and poor eating habits. But with the right approach, we can find freedom, wake up each morning feeling healthy, focused, and ready to take on the day. Together, we can make a difference, one story at a time. According to womenshealth.gov, up to 80% of women develop fibroids by the age of 50. Fibroids are muscular tumors that grow in the wall of the uterus, and although they are rarely cancerous, they are often quite painful. Today, I will be talking with Nurys Lemire, and we will discuss how fibroids affected her life and her untraditional healing journey. Welcome, Nurys.
Thank you so much for inviting me today, Tracy.
You're very welcome, and thank you for joining us. Let me start with, how did you know that you weren't feeling quite right, that something may have been off?
It was just a combination of different things. Nothing specific that you could actually just pinpoint, but I was feeling really tired most of the time. I was having really very heavy, painful menstrual cycles. And I kept hearing that as I was getting closer into going into menopause, that they should be getting better. Well, it was happening the opposite.
Oh boy.
They were getting worse. Along with that, symptoms of anemia, besides the tiredness, it was just poor concentration. And it was just a combination of different symptoms. Weight gain, even though I wasn't really eating that much, it was like I couldn't get a grasp on that either.
Oh boy. So did you go to the doctor and were you immediately diagnosed with fibroids?
No. It was just a journey up that point. First, the traditional doctors wanted me to take, hormone replacement pills.
Okay.
Then they wanted me to take just different things, and I've never been one to take one pill for one ill. So
Right.
I was frustrated
And
with
you
that.
you were in the health field, right?
I was a practicing occupational therapist. I had my own practice, and craniosacral, lymphatic, acupuncture. So I was in the health field already.
Okay. So you were diagnosed and they told you to take hormone replacement therapy. And did you do that? Or?
No.
Okay. So you continued to look for other solutions.
Yes.
And what did you find?
Well, along the way, I did acupuncture, and that will help for a while. But then I will bleed again really heavy, and my blood count will continue to go down. Then I will need a blood transfusion.
Oh, really? They were that bad that you needed blood?
Oh, yes. I got used
Wow.
to seeing my hemoglobin count anywhere from the lowest I ever got was 6.4. The average should be between 11 to 15. So if I went up to like 9.8, that was a good month.
Wow. So you were having lots of blood loss, but
Yes.
you were the other symptoms getting worse, or
Yes.
were they staying the same?
I was so exhausted sometimes that I could barely function. There was one particular time that I was working in my practice, and I had a partner, a chiropractor, and I collapsed. And he said to me, "I am putting you today, you have to go on leave of absence because I do not want you to die in the office." It was
I
that,
bet you that was terrifying to even hear.
and it
that-
wasn't just the terror, it was the frustration of knowing that there was something else going on and that I wasn't getting an answer. So I started doing more and more research on my own.
So what type of tests were you having that weren't getting results?
Well, by then, I already knew that there was a problem and that I have fibroids.
Okay.
Okay, I switched physicians also. That was
Okay.
a big help. I had a physician that wanted me to be on a particular drug, quote, for the rest of my life. And that was my cue that I needed to find another physician. And the universe is so amazing that our physician had moved into Citrus County at that point, and a friend of mine told me about him, and I went to see him, which happens to be my husband now. He's my he's my twin soul. At that point, he was just a life-saving physician. And the first thing he said to me was, "We have to get you off these drugs." And I said, "Oh, thank God!" I said, "I found a doctor."
Right.
So that made a difference, because then we started looking at the whole picture.
So as he was getting you off the drugs, what was he doing to help you in the meantime? 'Cause did he just take you off everything?
No, we started slowly.
Okay.
Just monitoring to see how my system will respond to certain things. But you see, there was a piece of the puzzle that I was missing, that I had not been paying attention to. I was so caught up in the physical symptomologies that I had ignored the emotional component.
Like what?
Well, what I have learned now, the more, because I started around that same time, I was in a very stressful situation, a very stressful marriage. I was going to school I was actually getting a double master's at that time, but the situation that I was in was causing incredible stress. And I was not really paying attention to the whole puzzle. And since then, I have learned that we are really pieces of a puzzle.
Okay.
And all those pieces make the whole of who we are. And some of those pieces will be the nutrition, some of those pieces will be the emotional component, the spiritual, what we inherit from our ancestors. All those different pieces needed to be addressed. And once I saw that there was more to this picture than just the physical symptomology that was going on, it was like he opened up a whole new venue. And with the help of Dr. Lemire at that point is when we started looking at the different pieces, because he usually looks at what we call the 7 pillars of health,
Okay.
which are the history, the antecedents, the emotions. So all that stuff, we started looking at pieces. And the big piece for me was the stress that I was under and the emotional components that I had not addressed.
Like what? Do you mind sharing?
No, it was. I was in a very emotionally passive-aggressive relationship. On the surface, everything looked like it was a perfect couple.
Right.
But when you looked deeper in, it was just really disheartening. And that was one of my biggest pieces of the puzzle. I felt that I was on survival mode most of the time. Because I was working, I was going to school, and I was raising children. So it was like all those different things were creating stress without having any support system.
Right.
And that stress was also the way that my body was responding, was by breaking down.
Okay.
Okay, and as I started addressing that and I started working with the emotional components, one of the things that also was very helpful was doing acupuncture. Mm-hmm. I met a Taoist master in 2003, and by studying with him, I got in touch with another little piece of who I was that I had not been addressing. I started meditating more, even though in the past I had done yoga, not on a consistent basis.
Right.
But here I started doing Qigong, Tai Chi, meditation, and I started going inside and getting in touch with what we call the master within.
How did acupuncture affect you?
It will be a temporary help.
Okay.
Okay, it will help with the bleeding.
Okay.
Or I will go to traditional acupuncturists, but I also do electric acupuncture. So it was a combination. I would get 3-4 acupuncture treatments during the week, but then also at home, I would treat myself. I would go into probably spleen 6, which is one of those stop bleeding points when I was bleeding really heavy, and it would just give me a relief for a little bit.
Okay.
But it was not enough.
But not enough. Mm-hmm. And then you started adding some things to take away the stress.
Yes.
And you did that through meditation. Mm-hmm. And did you meditate for hours a day? Or
no, just consistent.
Like?
I started with probably 15-20 minutes. Mm-hmm. Then I would increase it, as I was able to. Then I would do a session in the morning, a session in the evening. But also I started looking inside to see what were the emotional hurts that I was carrying that had transferred into those fibroids.
That must have been kind of difficult to do, too.
At the beginning, because I wasn't really familiar with it. But once I started learning the power that was in addressing the emotional components, then I was ready to do it because I was ready to heal.
So when you say looking within and addressing the emotional components, if you had been hurt by somebody or had dealt with somebody, what does addressing it mean? Does that mean that you confronted them? How did you
No,
release?
not necessarily. It's really going in and addressing it with our spirit. A lot of us have a little girl inside that is really hurt, that has been hurt. And sometimes that little girl is traveling with us and we're not addressing her. We're not understanding or seeing her needs that were there. And that's where I started. The little girl whose father died when she was 6 years old had to be addressed. That sense of abandonment, the sense of, all those little things that had become part of who the biology was showing.
Right. So it sounds like you did a nurturing of yourself.
Yes, I did. And regression therapy, I'm really blessed by being surrounded with amazing practitioners. That's why now what I do is a result of what I learned to do for myself that I share with the other patients that I'm around. And because that was really powerful. When you take and you do a visualization and a regression, and you put the little girl inside, and you actually see the little girl as she is expanding inside the body, as she's healing, being able to stand. It sounds like really beyond what the human understanding, but that's power. When you're able to do that and heal.
So as you're doing the regression therapy and as you're helping your little girl and meditating, a lot of people are like, okay, well that's a little woo-woo, and why do I need to do that? But how did you'd been doing acupuncture and you'd been doing some of these other things. Did you see a change? Because you didn't have, a lot of people would just go have surgery.
Oh, that was what Western medicine was offering me. And I fired my GYN. And him and I have been friends for a long time. Our daughters had grown up together. And I had gone over to see him, and I said, I would like you to do an ultrasound just so I have an idea about how many fibroids, the size that they are, and that kind of stuff. So I went to see him. I still remember it was on a Tuesday. So when he came back from the ultrasound, he said, okay, I'm scheduling you for surgery for Friday. And I said, no, we don't need any surgery. He says, oh yes, you have several fibroids, and he told me the size that they were and everything. And I said, no, but I'm not going that route. And he says, you're going to be really upset with me if I don't do that afterwards, because it's not going to get any better. It's just going to get worse. And I said to him, and he said to me, I practice the old-fashioned medicine. And I go, well, what is that? He said, I cut. And I said, well, I'm not planning to get cut. I said, I came in with it, and I'm leaving with it. And he said to me, well, you're not planning on having any more kids. You don't need your uterus. You don't need anything. So that's the best solution for you. And I said, no, I don't think so.
So you didn't have the surgery, and now you're going through the alternative route.
Yes.
And are you getting better? I mean, are you noticing any changes?
It took a while.
Okay.
And it took persistence, and also the next piece of my puzzle was I needed to address my nutrition.
Okay.
During the stressful time that I was living in, most of the time I wouldn't eat at home because I didn't want to be home.
Okay.
So I was
and you were very busy too.
Yes, and I was eating out a lot, and I was not making the best choices. When you eat out, you need to be conscious of the choices that you can make. You could eat out, and I can eat anywhere, but I know the choices that I will make now as a nutritionist. That at that point I wasn't too sure, and I was just feeding the same emotional emptiness.
So what type of things were you eating before?
The standard American diet. That SAD diet, standard American diet. Yeah. And I thought I was eating kind of healthy.
So what did a kind of healthy day look like for you?
I would probably have some oatmeal in the morning. Sometimes when I was really stressed, I would go and have a bagel with cream cheese.
Okay.
Okay. A bagel a day is 10 pounds in the hips in a year.
Oh boy. And what about lunch?
Okay, sometimes for lunch, either I will miss lunch, or I will grab something at the office, and or I would go and I would get either some fish but most of the time, because it was commercial fish, it was farm fish. So I was dealing with hormone issues with the fibroids, and now I'm ingesting hormones from the farm fish.
Right.
And I thought I was eating better by doing the fish than by doing some of the other things.
Right. And then dinner?
Sometimes dinner I would have a piece of chicken, and sometimes I would go and get a rotisserie chicken. Have you ever looked at what's in a rotisserie chicken?
No.
Oh, that's an education in itself. It has a list this long.
In a rotisserie chicken?
Yes.
Really?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay. And half of it is not stuff that's in the chicken.
Well, yeah, because otherwise it would just say chicken, right?
Right, I know. So those were kind of like some of the things I was doing. And also because it was so emotionally driven, I was just eat without really being aware of what I was eating. I was really practicing the standard American diet.
So today and during your healing journey, how did that nutrition change when you really started looking at that nutrition aspect?
180 degrees.
Okay, so what's a breakfast look like today?
Well, sometimes I have, I'm putting together a cookbook.
Okay.
Okay, and one of the practice recipes that I'm working with right now is for patients and people that need to do this in the morning. Okay, so now in the morning, I will probably have my green drink first.
Okay.
Okay, and
Which
then
is just, what's a green drink?
Okay, a green drink, I could make either a smoothie, which is made in a blender with all the fiber in it, or sometimes I'll alternate and I'll make a juice.
Okay.
But a typical juice, for example, this morning it was cilantro, it was some kale, it was Swiss chard, then also it had in there romaine lettuce, and half of an apple.
Okay.
Okay, and that was the breakfast.
That's your green drink.
Yes.
And then what else would you do if you really didn't want to?
If I didn't want to do the green drink, then I have found that you can have seeds. Seeds are different than grains. So at this stage in my life, I don't do any grains. Okay. I do not do any dairy, because we're not a cow. It takes the molecules in dairy products had to take the calf from 200 pounds to 1,000 pounds in a year. So our body cannot utilize it. So it leaches the calcium from our bones to try and metabolize that dairy product. So I don't do any dairy. I don't do any simple pastries, and I don't do any sugar. Okay. I do not do any soy products at all, because they're so highly processed. And now I do a lot of research, and the studies are showing that it's really detrimental, especially for women, and especially when they're going through the change into menopause, that the soy products are really not the best for them. So those are some of the things that I do different.
Okay. So you changed your nutrition, and then how did that start affecting the fibroids? Did you start noticing less pain?
Yes, they started shrinking.
Okay.
Okay, so it was a combination of all those different things that we have addressed so far, but the biggest piece was that emotional component.
So the emotional, we've addressed the physical and the nutrition. What about exercise and that?
Remember that I started doing Qigong and Tai Chi? Well, I do my practice every day.
Okay.
So right now I'm a Qigong instructor. I'm also in training to be a Taoist priest.
Wow.
So it has become a part of who I am. So that's just part of my everyday life.
Okay, now I'm not very familiar with Qigong, but I know like Tai Chi Cha or Tai Chi Cha is a very mellow. How is that for people who like cardiovascular or a lot of strength training? How does that affect your body?
We have what we call hard Qigong.
Okay.
In hard Qigong, you'll be sweating within 10 minutes.
Okay.
As you're doing. So we have
different. So for that person that wants that level.
And it could be, you could be doing a movement just very slowly, but we teach the energetics of it. And as you include the energetics, you start sweating. And it's what we call getting rid of the stinky chi.
Getting rid of the stinky chi. So the stinky sweat.
Yes.
And now you said the fibroids shrunk. So how did you go back for an ultrasound? Is that how you did that? Okay.
And there was only one left, and that was the hardest one to get rid of, but it was because I had to go in deeper into my emotions. And once I delved deeply and just really felt clear, it was like, when you have a treasure chest, and you have that treasure chest with chains around it to protect whatever's inside. Well, my heart was inside there. and my heart did not want to get hurt anymore. So until I was able to unlock and open that treasure chest, that last fibroid didn't go away. And that was done through more of the emotional healing. I had healing with not only with regression, but a lot of craniosacral work. And that was also part of the reason why I do cranial work, because it's so powerful in opening up the central nervous system and clearing what's inside so the energy can flow. And once the energy flows, because we're energetic beings, and what we want is to build a cohesiveness between the heart and the brain. And in order to do that, the heart has to be healed. And that's one of the things that we do often in the office, is just help build that cohesiveness so the heart and the brain are synchronized. It's kind of like we all have this energy field around us. So sometimes you walk into a room, and when you walk into the room, you feel there might be one person there that either radiates and you really get attracted to that person, or there might be someone there that you're like, oh.
You want to run, right?
Yes, it's because the two energy fields are not vibrating at the same frequency. And once you help to build that cohesiveness between your brain and your heart, that expands your energy field, so then it can handle what's coming around you on a daily basis.
Well, it's amazing that you were attracted to so many things that have to do with the energy, for the acupuncture, the qigong, the tai chi.
Even because before I knew it, it was like the universe was conspiring to just put all those tools in my toolbox. And not only did I need them for myself, but it ended up that that's what I do on a daily basis.
So you never had surgery?
No.
And did you ever go back to the OB that wanted the surgery? No. He doesn't know. Yeah.
No, he doesn't know. It was not necessary.
How has this changed? You were in the health field before. How has this changed how you work with people?
It has, because now I'm aware that most of what we see on the surface have different layers and different components. To give you an example, in Western medicine, we look at the body as the engine in a car. You see the engine, the spark plugs don't work, you rip them out. The battery doesn't work, you rip it out. Okay, gallbladder doesn't work, they rip it out.
Right.
Okay, uterus has a problem, we rip it out. Okay, so instead, by studying Chinese medicine, I've been to China and I study Chinese medicine, we look at the body as a garden. And if you have a garden and you have, let's say you have a tree that is not flowering and is not bearing any fruits, okay, what do you usually do when your garden is not working? You nurture it.
You give
it
more
water. You give it, you fertilize it. You make sure that it's getting enough light, sunlight. Okay, so that's what we look at in Chinese medicine for the body. If the tree is not flowering, which in Chinese medicine, then the tree becomes the symptoms. You know, the headaches, the bleeding, the neck pain, the back pain, all those kind of things. That's the non-flowering tree. But we have to go down the root of that tree to deal with the emotional issues. And those are usually the root issues that are holding that tree. You see, once we fertilize the emotional, which is the root of the tree, then the tree will flower. And most of those emotions are either fear, anger, frustration, all those things that are underneath. So by us going inside, that's how we get in touch to be able to nurture that tree so it can flower.
Wow.
And that's the power.
Yeah,
and that's
so
what
it's really changed.
Yes, and that's what we call the master within.
Wonderful. Well, thank you so much for joining us today. And if somebody would like to get in touch with you to hear more about your journey, or you know, something that you said today that sparked something within them, how would they do that?
Sure, they can call the office, Lemire Clinic, and it's 352-291-9459.
Okay.
They can also go to our website, www.lemire, that's Lemire, clinic.com.
Wonderful. Well, thank you so much, Nara.
It's been fun again.
Wonderful.
I enjoy working with you.
I love it. Thanks. Together, we make a difference, one story at a time. If you would like to find out more about World Wellness Education, visit our website at worldwellnesseducation.org. Nearly everyone I have interviewed in the last 3 years have said that the stress in their lives contributed in some part to their disease. This is amazing because if you ask any of us at any given time about the stress we feel on a daily basis, we will probably tell you that it is way too high. Stress comes in different forms: relationships, work, money, feelings of lack, etc. The stress you feel does not have to result in some form of disease, though. Today, I'm going to share with you 5 of my top stress relief techniques that will help you in all areas of your life. Number 1, change your perception. You have more control over the anxiety and stress you feel in your life than you may realize. Often, the first thing I look at when I am stressed out is my perception. The following questions can help you see things from a different perspective. What is something positive that can come from this situation? How can you use this as an opportunity for growth? And how can you make this better? Finally, what can you be grateful for? Number 2, take deep breaths. We often breathe very shallow breaths, and our body and brain do not get the oxygen they need to function well. Being conscious of your breath will help you think clearer and will relieve stress on your body and mind. My third best stress relief technique is meditation. However, don't stress over how much time you have to meditate. Just a few minutes of daily meditation will make a huge difference in your life. This is a must in my stress relieving routine. I love a good meditation first thing in the day, midday, or even at the end of the day. Number 4 is exercise. Exercise is a great way to move the energy around while reducing the stress in your life at the same time. It can be as easy as a simple walk around the neighborhood or an intense cardiovascular or strength training activity. My 5th tip to relieve stress in your life is to have fun and play. In today's world, we spend so much time doing and running from appointment to appointment that we forget to have fun and play. Do what makes your heart sing. For me, this might be a pedicure or a massage, or maybe going to a water park with my family. It really doesn't matter what the activity is, though, as long as you are smiling, happy, and enjoying a laugh or two. Life is often stressful, and there may not be much you can do about the frustrations and worries that show up. However, you can do a lot with how you handle these stressors and how you allow them to affect you. I hope that these techniques help you find more peace and happiness in your life. This information is not meant to be medical advice. No action or inaction should be taken solely on the contents of this information. Instead, you should consult appropriate health professionals on any matter relating to your health and well-being. Thanks for joining us. Remember, you can catch this show each week on Lakefront TV. And to find out more about World Wellness Education, check out our website at worldwellnesseducation.org. We'll see you next time.
This episode of World Wellness Education is made possible by a production grant from the Milhorn Law Firm. Have you or a loved one ever suffered an injury due to the negligence of another? Then it's time to turn to a law firm that you know and trust, one with a record of client satisfaction and integrity. Hello, my name is Ryan Milhorn, and the Milhorn Law Firm has been representing personal injury clients in the Central Florida area for over 20 years. Our attorneys live in this community and are very proud to call it home. The Milhorn Law Firm, the law firm you know and trust.